I was too young for the weight they gave me, too small for the silence that was supposed to save me, too young to understand the shape of what I held. I was too young for the weight they gave me, and I still swelled into the man who carries it with both hands steady now. I was too young for the weight they gave me, but I learned how. Every year it made me something harder, something more. I was too young for the weight they gave me, but I bore. I watched adults around me breaking ways I didn't name. I was 9 years old and keeping score of who to blame. Not with paper, not with language, just the body keeping track of which room was the safer one and which one to hold back. From the full presence of a child who hadn't learned yet how to be invisible enough to stay in the room without a fee, charged against the softness that I couldn't yet control. I learned to keep the soft parts down below the cold of the surface that I showed to the rooms that weren't safe. I learned to show the surface and to keep the other place locked inside a chest that only opened in the night, when the house was finally quiet, when the adults weren't in flight from each other and from themselves, and from the particular crash of their own unsolved equations that kept burning into ash. Everything around them, including the small child who was learning at the edge of their fire, being filed into a shape he didn't choose, into a posture he would carry, long past the house that made it, long past the ordinary. The weight of adults breaking lands on the child nearest to it. The child carries it, unknowing how to lose it. He just integrates the weight into the structure of the growing, and becomes the man who carries more than normal without showing. I was too young for the weight they gave me, too young for the knowing they forced me to carry, but the carrying made the man that nobody could bury. I was too young for the weight, but the weight made me free. The rejection of the school years came in layers, not in one. The slow exclusion from the circle, the particular undone. Feeling of the lunch table that had no room for one more, that communicated clearly what the closed door of the adults had communicated in a different language years before, which is that the space for you is smaller than the floor you take up when you're being everything you actually are. So shrink or be excluded, so shrink and keep the scar of the shrinking somewhere private where the others cannot see. I chose exclusion over shrinking. I chose the cost of free over the cost of fitting into spaces I could only enter. By becoming less than what I was, I walked toward the center of my own particular life, away from every table that required a smaller version than the one I was able to be, with no apology and no performance of the less. I ate alone for years, and I called the alone my best available option in a world that hadn't yet made room for the actual size of what I was. I ate alone in my own bloom. Loneliness in childhood is the original school, where a man learns his own company, where a man learns the rule that the inside voice is real, that the inside world is wide, that the man who knows himself early has nowhere else to hide from the truth, which is a comfort once you stop running from its face. The lonely child who found himself found the only lasting place. I was too young for the weight they gave me, too young for the table that refused to save me, a seat inside the warmth of the acceptable and known. I was too young for the weight they gave me, but I found my own. Tonight I watch a child in a restaurant across the room, sitting with adults who aren't present, who are somewhere in the gloom of their own devices, their own distances, their own private disappearing acts that leave the child alone at the table with his food. And I recognize the posture, the particular way of sitting at the angle of the foster, of independence that begins before the child is ready. The learning of the self-sufficient, learning to be steady without the steady ground of adults who were present. And I want to say to him that the lesson is I walk alone, and I walk complete, not looking for a hand, not looking for the heat of someone walking next to me to prove I'm real. I walk alone, and I walk complete. I know how I feel. I walk alone, and the alone is full, not the empty kind, not the missing pull of everything I'm supposed to want but don't require. I walk alone, and I walk complete. I walk in my own fire. The first time I walked the long road home, I cried the first 10 minutes, then I didn't, and the bone of something permanent began its quiet formation in the body of the child who found her different foundation than the one the other children stood on, in the easy warmth of the group that held its members through the South and through the North of every season, without asking for the urn, just for the fit. I didn't fit, and I was given the particular gift of having to find the ground within myself before without. The gift of the long road home, the gift of the early doubt that turned to something cleaner than the certainty they had. The boy who walks alone has something that the crowd can't add, which is the compass that was calibrated in the quiet years, not by the agreement of the crowd, but by the actual steers of his own internal navigation through the difficult terrain of being exactly what he was in every cold and rain that the group had shelter from inside each other's company. I was in the weather, and the weather taught me every note of the direction home through every kind of storm. I walk alone and I walk certain. I walk alone and I walk warm. Inside the warmth that comes from knowing your own road, from knowing your own compass, knowing your own load. Walking alone is not the consolation of the unloved. It is the graduation of the man who has discovered that the ground beneath him comes from inside, not outside him. That the direction he is walking has no outside guide beside him, worth the following, worth the trading of the compass for the comfort of the company that would ask him to forget this knowledge of the road that only the solo walker gains. Walking alone is the answer, not the consequence of pains. I walk alone and I walk complete. Every mile beneath me, mind every cold defeat. Behind me and below me, and already turned to road. I walk alone, and I walk complete. I carry my own load. The loneliness of the adult years was different from the child's, less the cold exclusion, more the particular wild distance of a man who has outgrown the available company around him, not by arrogance, not unable to connect just by the particular specific speed of his becoming. That the rooms available were not keeping up the running with, not because they were less, but because he was heading in a direction that required a specific kind of threading through the crowds without stopping for the comfortable and the known. A specific kind of walking that is only walked alone. And the loneliness was real, and the loneliness was honest, and the loneliness was also the most productive promise of the life that was arriving in the years beyond the turning that required the alone for the particular earning of the knowledge of the road that only comes from the walking of it without the interruption of the comfortable talking of the available company that would have been enough to make the loneliness a little less rough, but would have cost the road's particular instruction, would have softened the terrain into a comfortable reduction of what the road was actually offering the man who walked it alone and in the weather and with nobody talking. The man who walks alone walks with everything he built, and every year of walking with the compass and the tilt of the road beneath his feet that he knows better than any map could show, because he walked it. And the walking is the many. I walk alone and I walk complete. I walk proud, not with pride of the superior man, but the pride of the man who knows his own road, developed his own plan. Tonight I walk the late street, and the late street knows my name. Not in the sense of famous, but in the sense of sane. Recognition that the regular gives the road in the man who has walked it long enough to be a part of the plan, of the road itself, the furniture of the particular route that belongs to him the way that a long road belongs to the man who walks it daily, in the early and the late. I walk this road complete. I walk this road in the state of the man who needs no other ground than what he walks on. And the walking is the heaven, and the heaven is the song that plays inside the chest of the man who walks alone. The road made me this way, not a choice I made. Every cold night in that house, before the light of day, every closed door, every empty chair, every year I stood alone. The road made me this way, and the road became my home. The road made me this way, every single scar, every time I reach for something and it moved too far, every hand that didn't hold me when I needed holding most. The road made me this way, I became my own coast. I was 7 in the winter when I learned the house was cold, not the colder temperature, but the older kind of cold, the kind that lives in silence between people in a room, the kind that never answers, the kind that fills the gloom of a child who doesn't understand why the warmth is somewhere else, why the dinner table conversation sits on the back shelf of things nobody mentions, why the father's somewhere gone in the body, but the spirit left the building years before the dawn of anything resembling what a child was told was right about the way a family holds itself at night. I learned to hold myself instead in the years before I knew that holding yourself was something not every child has to do. I thought it was the standard, I thought everyone was cold. I found out much later that the story I'd been told by the silence of that house was only one of many available, and the version I had lived was the least sustainable. For the soft parts of a man that need the early warmth to know that they are safe enough to open toward the north and south and east and west of everything a life can offer, I learned to keep them closed instead. I learned to be the buffer between the world and what was real, between the surface and the tender, between the child I was at 7 and the man I boy who kept the fire small to keep the cold from burning. The road made me this way,
early and for good.
not the way I would have chosen,
But the way I understood.
was the only road available.
In the house I started from.
The road made me this way, and I ran. Rejection was my second teacher. After silence came the no, the particular no of a child who reaches and gets slow. Withdrawal of the thing he reached for, withdrawal of the face that was warm a moment earlier, and then withdrew the space between them just enough to let the cold air in. And the child who felt it understood before the understanding had the language to describe it, that some warmth was conditional on him being something smaller, something more traditional. And the shape they had expected when they planned the room he'd fill, and the shape he was already didn't match and never will match the smaller and the quieter and the easier to hold version they were hoping for before the story started to unfold into the actual man who was always gonna be too much and not enough simultaneously for every room that wanted the comfortable and tame. I was rejected early and I learned to love my name regardless of the rooms that called it something other. I learned to be the father that I never had, the mother, but my own particular and unrepeatable self. I took it off the shelf of what they said I was and placed it on the one that I had built myself beneath the morning sun. Rejection taught me borders.
It taught me who I was.
It taught me who I was,
Not by what it offered,
but by every single pause.
but by every single pause.
Before the door came open for the man they thought I'd be, and closed when they encountered
The man I actually
was standing in the doorway, too big for the frame. I walked through every doorway and I kept my name. The road made me this way,
every rejection,
every goal, every year I wasn't chosen,
every year I stood bold.
against the wind of what I wasn't, in the rooms that couldn't hold. The road made me this way, and the road made me go. I think about the boy who walked the long way home, not because the long way was the shorter way alone, but because the long way didn't pass the places where the other boys were standing in the easy morning air, or belonging to the group that he had never been admitted to. And the long way was the quiet way, the way where nobody knew his name or had a verdict on the kind of man he'd be. The long way was the first road that belonged entirely to me, and I have walked long roads. Every no made me more of myself. Every door that shut me out put something else on the shelf. The man I was becoming in the years of being refused. Every no made me more of myself. I was never confused. Every no made me more of myself. Every room that didn't want me gave my own room its wealth. The particular and private, and the real and the mind. Every no made me more of myself. every single time. They said no to the table, they said no to the team, they said no to the version of me that had the dream of belonging to the thing that the others took for granted. I stood outside the circle, I stood where I was planted by the accident of being the wrong shape for the room. And I learned to be the shape that I was, without the gloom of apology attached, without the performance of the wanting. I learned to let the no be just a no, without the haunting of the self-revision that the no was asking me to do if I wanted to be let in to the room I'd been kept from too. I chose the shape I was over the shape that fit the door. I chose the outside of the circle, and I learned what it was for, which was the long and honest road that the inside never offers. The inside has the warmth, but the outside has the rafters of the sky above the building that the inside never sees. I stood in the rejection, and I stood in the open freeze of the particular freedom that exclusion accidentally gives to the man who stops pursuing the warmth that only lives in the conditional and managed acceptance of the crowd. I stopped pursuing, and I stood in my own cold and loud. Every no is a direction, not the direction of the wanted, but the direction of the actual, the direction of the haunted. Less than the honest, more the direction of the real. Every no said go this way instead. Every no was the deal that the life was offering in the language of the closed. Every no was an instruction for the man who was exposed to enough of them to read the pattern in the shutting. Every no was pointing at the door worth cutting through on his own terms, not the one the circle guarded. Every no was pointing at the road the man started down, and every year the circle didn't want him. Every no was pointing home, and the home was always waiting in the direction the no was pointing toward. Every no made more of me. Every no was the Lord. Every no made me more of myself. Took the borrowed shape and put it back on the shelf of the versions I was trying to become for other rooms. Every no made me more of myself through the glooms. The romantic rejection was the sharpest kind of no, because it came with the specific warmth before the specific cold of the withdrawal that arrived without the warning that you'd earned by every preceding yes that had you thinking you had learned the language of that particular connection and its key. And then the no arrived and cut below the deep of every previous certainty about your own worth, your own legibility, your own particular birth. Right to be desired by another human being, and the no dismantled that and left you there unseen in the particular way that romantic unseen goes, which is deeper than the table, which is deeper than the closed door of the group or team, because it reaches for the tender parts that every other no taught you to surrender into the private keeping of the chest beneath the chest. And you opened them regardless, and the no came, and the rest of the year was the rebuilding of the wall they gotten through. The rebuilding was the making of a wall that finally knew its own thickness, and its purpose wasn't keeping warmth outside, was keeping the authentic from from the ones who hadn't tried to earn the entering of it, who had only taken what was free. Every romantic no was architecture, every no was a decree that the man who built the wall well would be harder to undo. Every no was preparation for the one who would come through. Rejection is not the verdict on the man who was rejected. It is only the verdict of the room that had expected something other than the actual, something less than the real. Rejection says more about the room than about the man who kneeled before it and then stood again and walked away intact. Rejection is the room's failure, and the man knows that for fact. Every no made me more myself. Every room that didn't want me gave my own room its wealth of the particular and private, and the real and the mind. Every no made me more myself, every single time. They said no to the table, they said no to the team. They said no to the version of me that had the dream of belonging to the thing that the others took for granted. I stood outside the circle, I stood where I was planted by the accident of being the wrong shape for the room. And I learned to be the shape that I was without the gloom of apology attached, without the performance of the wanting. I learned to let the no be just a no without the haunting of the self.
Nobody saw the hours that made me this. The 4 a.m. of every year I couldn't dismiss. The particular darker rooms I sat inside alone. Nobody saw the hours that made me this, that made me bone. Nobody saw the hours, nobody was there when the wait arrived without an invitation or a chair to sit across from and discuss the shape of what it was. Nobody saw the hours that made me this, because they were mine and mine entirely, in the private and the real. Nobody saw the hours, but the hours made the steel. I was 12 the first time I learned what alone means, at its most complete expression, in the space between the scenes of a family that had already started its quiet falling into separate silences, into separate callings, away from the center that a child needs to exist. I filled the center myself with everything that fit into the hours after school, when the house held only me, in the particular freedom and the particular feet of a child who has the hours, but no one in the hours with him. I fill them with the building of the interior system that would hold me in the years when no exterior was steady. I built it young and I built it early, and it has been ready for every subsequent test of the ground beneath my feet. I built the ground myself in the hours of the street that was empty in the evening of every school day that sent me home to the house that had the walls, but that I walked through alone. I learned the house by heart. In those hours of the filling, I learned the particular sound of a life that keeps on spilling its residents in different directions, long before the final separation that arrived when I was old enough to final understand the word for what had been the atmosphere of every year I lived inside it, breathing the particular air of a house that held together only in the mornings for the performance of the family, for the school day warnings, and fell apart by evening into the separate rooms. I navigated between them in the particular glooms of a child who becomes fluent in the reading of the mood of every adult in the building before he has his food. The hours that made me were the hours after everyone had stopped performing, and the house into its honest silence dropped, and I was in it learning what the honest silence kept, what it knew about the people, what it said while they all slept. Nobody saw the hours that made me this, the long evenings of the alone, the particular abyss of the child who fills his own hours with the making. Nobody saw the hours, but the hours did the shaping. The hard times came in sequence, like a syllabus designed for the man who needed everything the comfortable declined, to teach him in the easy and the warmly supervised years that other men remember as the years they first were prized by the warm and present people of a life that held them close. I was in the other classroom, learning from the most demanding kind of teacher, which is the one who isn't there, who teaches by their absence, who teaches by the bare fact of the room without them, the fact of the hours alone, the fact of the child building on the uncertain stone of a life that hadn't settled into any permanent shape. I learned to build on shifting ground. I learned to find escape, not from the difficulty, but into a deeper version of the self that the difficulty was running its immersion program on the version that could hold the shifting ground without requiring it to still, without requiring it to be found stable before the builder could proceed. I built while it was moving, I built while nothing held, I built with everything improving, only in the building, only in the doing of the work. I learned that ground is made by the man who doesn't shirk. Hard times don't announce their purpose in the arriving, they announce it in the leaving, in the man who is still thriving. After the hard time lifted, changed in ways the easy years could never have produced, in the man who has no fears of the next hard time arriving, because he knows its purpose now. He knows the hard time is the making. He knows the hard time knows how. Nobody saw the hours, but the hours knew their work. They carved a man in the dark with every jerk of the ground beneath them, every season, every test. Nobody saw the hours, but the hours gave their best. Nobody saw the hours that made me this, that made me bone. Nobody saw the hours, nobody was there when the wait arrived. thank every hard time for the man it gave me. Every cold, every closed door, every ear that tried to break me. Every rejection, every lonely road, every hard night. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me, for the light. I thank every hard time for the bone it laid. Every difficult year was a contribution to the trade. For the soft and the uncertain, for the permanent and real. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me, for the feel of being exactly this and nothing borrowed. I thank every hard time, not with sorrow, with a full and honest gratitude of a man who understands the hard times were the making. The hard times were the hands. I thank the house I grew up in, the cold one and the loud, the one that taught me early how to carry in a crowd, the one how to be sufficient for the version of yourself that has nobody handing the important things off a shelf. I thank the school years and the table that said no. I thank the lunch alone for teaching me to go inside, for the company that I couldn't find outside. I thank the lunch alone for teaching me to ride, the particular quiet of my own particular mind, for teaching me that quiet was not the falling behind, but the getting further into the actual and the honest. I thank the table that refused me for the company the loneliest hours gave me in return, which was the man inside completely, who has been my most reliable companion, ever after, ever neatly, available at every hour, available in every room, the company of self that the lonely years gave room. Every hard time was a teacher who didn't ask for gratitude, but received it in the making of the man with the right attitude toward the difficulty, which is not the performance of the grateful or the stoic, but the actual accordance with the truth that hard times produce what easy years cannot, which is the permanent and earned and the actual and the bought with the only currency that buys the lasting things, which is the actual experience of what the hard time brings. I thank every hard time for the bone it built, every year of pressure lifted, every ounce of guilt of being exactly this and only this in mine. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me, for the spine. I thank the woman who left in the worst year, who chose the timing of her leaving to be clear about the nature of the ground I had been building on, which was not the solid kind. I thank her for the gone she gave me in the season when the going was most sharp. I thank her for the teaching of the untuned harp of a trust that I had given to the face above the fact. I thank her for the lesson that I needed and that cracked the comfortable assumption that the face and the intention are the same thing in the same body. I thank her for the mention of everything I had to learn about the reading of the deeper signal underneath the surface. I thank her for the keeper of her own particular truth, which was not mine to hold. I thank her for the winter, I thank her for the cold. She taught me where the warmth was actually located, which was in the work and in the practice and in the man who waded through the lit inside the chest that the comfort would have smothered. I thank her for the year of cold from which the man recovered into something the comfort would never have allowed. I thank her for the winter. I thank her unashamed and loud. Gratitude for hard times is not the performance of the healed. It is the honest recognition that the wound was the field where the permanent was planted, where the lasting took its root, where everything the easy years could never give their fruit grew from the particular and difficult and specific cost of the hard times and their actual terrific price, which was worth every cent paid in the years of the pain. I thank every hard time for exactly what it was and what it's saying. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me, the childhood and the rejection and the years that tried to bury the version I was building in the cold and in the night. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me. I am right here because of every single one of them. I thank every hard time, not in spite of them, because of them, because of everyone. Tonight I sit inside the sum of everything that cost me, and the sum is not a subtraction. The sum is everything the loss gave me in return for what it took, which was always less than what the loss produced in the making and the press of the difficult against the soft, until the soft became something harder and more honest and more worthy of the name of the man who walks inside this room, Tony. I thank every hard time for the bone it laid. Every difficult year was a contribution to the trade of the soft and the uncertain for the permanent and real. I thank every hard time for the man it gave me, for the feel. They showed me who they were. I showed them who I became. Not with anger, not with revenge, not with their game. Just with the years of work they swore I'd never do. They showed me who they were. I showed them who I became and grew. They showed me who they were in the coldest way. Pulled the floor out from beneath me on an ordinary day. No warning and no mercy, and no hand to break the fall. They showed me who they were. I showed them who I became, that's all. It happened on a Tuesday, the kind that starts too clean, the kind that doesn't advertise the damage it will bring. They smiled when they did it, that part I still remember. The particular warmth of the face that made the room December. In the second that it landed, in the second that I knew that everything I trusted was designed to see me through. The door and not the finish was the plan from the beginning. I sat with that all winter while they went on winning. The room that I had given them, the trust I had supplied, the access to the building I had built from the inside. I gave them all of it the cold and in the drought of everything that followed. And I made a quiet choice not to spend the years on the performance of the voice that wanted to announce it, that wanted them to know. I chose to let the building speak louder than the show. Betrayal is a teacher dressed in the worst clothes you've seen. It shows you every fault line and the trust you thought was clean. And once you see the fault lines, you can build around the truth of what survives the breaking and what doesn't have the proof. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. Didn't need the confrontation, didn't need to name every single thing they cost me in the year they took their share. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. I'm still there. The loneliness that followed was the cleanest kind of hurt, because it came from cutting what had pulled me through the dirt. Of every year I'd kept them past the honest reading of the signs that were there early, of the signs I'd been ignoring. In the name of loyalty, in the name of the familiar face that had become a fixture in the architecture of my place, I remodeled without them, took the walls they touched and changed them, took the rooms they'd occupied and quietly rearranged them into something that served the man they'd underestimated, into something that confirmed the building they'd vacated was better without the weight of people who were renting, without the intention of ever really investing. The lesson in a betrayal is not about the one who leaves, it is about the man remaining in what he now believes, about his own construction, about his own foundation, about the things that didn't fall when they took their allocation. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. Let the years be the answer, let the work be the claim. No speech for the audience, no final public word. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became, and I was hurt. Now I move through every room with the knowledge that I carry of what a man looks like when the face is ordinary and the intention is the opposite of everything it shows. I carry that like a compass now wherever the road goes, not cynically, not close, but with the honest calibration of a man who paid the tuition of a very real education and came out the other side, still standing, still intact, still building the same building with one critical fact changed permanently inside him, about the cost of open doors, about the vetting of the entrance, about the building and its floors being for the man who earned them, not for anyone who came with a smile and good intentions and a quietly different name. They showed me who they were on a Tuesday, cold and clean, and I will not forget it, and I won't pretend I've been unaffected by the lesson or immune to what it cost. But the cost became the compass and nothing real was lost that wasn't already sitting on a fault line I'd ignored. I thanked them in the silence for the truth I couldn't afford to see until they gave it, and I built on what remained. They showed me who they were, I showed them who became. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. This all. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed them who they were, I showed them who I became. That's all.
They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed them who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. Not with anger, not with revenge, not with their game, just with the years of work they swore I'd never do. They showed me who they were, I showed them who I became. In the groove, they showed me who they were. The worst ones taught me the most, I'll give them that. Every hand that hit me taught me how to fall and come back flat against the ground and rise again with something sharper in my eye. The worst ones taught me the most, I'll give them that and say goodbye. The worst ones taught me the most about what lasts, about the difference between the surface and the underneath that casts a shadow over everything until you learn to read the shade. The worst ones taught me the most, and I'm grateful for the trade. The man who lied to my face in the year I needed truth taught me how to read a face before it gives the proof of what it is behind it, before the season turns, before the convenient leaving, when the comfortable thing burns. The woman who left in winter without a forwarding address taught me that I could survive the coldest kind of mess that arrives without a warning, that moves without a sound. She taught me I was standing on my own particular ground, not on borrowed certainty, not on someone else's stage. She left and I was standing, and I'm standing here today. The friend who used the access I gave him to my life to serve a purpose that was his and mine only, as the knife he needed for the cutting of something else entirely. Taught me what access cost and what it means to give it freely, too early and too fully to a face that hadn't earned it. He taught me how to value the trust before I turned it into the open door that anyone could enter. He moved through mine and out and took a piece of center that I had to rebuild, and I rebuilt it stronger with walls that knew their purpose and a door that took much longer. I don't hate the teachers for the harshness of the class. I don't wish the lessons easier, I don't wish they didn't last as long as they needed to carve the lesson in, because the shallow cut heals over and you're back where you begin. The worst ones taught me the most about the real, about the difference between the surface and what's sealed beneath the face of things that want you to believe. The worst ones taught me the most, and I don't grieve. The year that cost the most wasn't the loudest year, it was the quiet one that arrived without the fear of being difficult, that arrived dressed up as fine, that wore the familiar face of every previous line in the story I was living, and then changed the story without announcement and without the basic territory of warning that a man deserves before the ground shifts under, before the life he built on Tuesday arrives on Friday asunder. And in that quiet devastation, in the particular alone of a man whose map stopped working in territory he'd called home, I found the lesson waiting in the rubble of the year, that the map was never the territory, and the territory was here exactly as it was, without my story over it, the raw and honest ground, without the comfortable it and standing on that ground, without the story
lives in this year instead. The worst ones taught me the most, I'll give them that. Every cold hand, every closing door, every falling flat produced the man who reads the room before he built inside it. The worst ones taught me the most, I wouldn't hide it. Tonight I hold the glass and think of every name that belongs to a lesson I received before the frame of who I am now hardened into something permanent. And every name on that list paid the full tuition meant for the making of this man, whether they intended it or whether they were only following their own benefit and caring nothing for the building that they were also building, in the man they were dismissing, in the man they were not filling with anything but the lesson of their own particular truth about what people do when given roof and trust and open access to the life of a man who hadn't yet discovered the whole plan. I know the plan now, I know the reading of the face, I know the difference between warmth and the performance of the place. I don't carry them as damage, I carry them as data. Every worst one was a chapter I'll need to read and laugh later, when the face arrives again in a different name, when the pattern shows itself before it plays the same game it always plays. I recocky and say goodbye. Lonely years were the making years, the years nobody watched were the years of no fears, held over me by the need for the room to confirm. The lonely years were the making years, and I learned. The lonely years were the building years, the years without the warmth were the years without the veneer of performance and of management and of the daily face. The lonely years were the making years, gave me my space. I used to mark them down as the years I lost, used to count the lonely ones against the total cost of a life that should have had more company by now, more of the warmth that other men seem to know somehow how to gather and maintain around themselves like heat. I walked through winters of the alone on the same cold street and marked the winters down as evidence of lack, of something that I hadn't found that kept on being back. At the start of every season, at the start of every year, and somewhere in the marking down, the truth became more clear that the lonely years weren't empty, they were full of something else, full of the particular work that only does itself when the room is clear to people, when the noise has gone to bed, when it's just a man and what he's building in the silence of his head and his hands and his morning, in this particular practice of becoming the most honest version of his actual self, without the interference of what anyone required him to to perform for their comfort in the years that had inspired him to spend the building hours on the management instead of the building that was waiting in the silence of the shed at the back of his own life that he finally opened in the year the crowd was absent, in the year the lonely chosen path through the particular winter gave him back the hours that the company had borrowed and returned them to his powers. The lonely years are not the years the man fell behind. They are the years the man caught up with his own mind, caught up with his own purpose, caught up with his own true, particular and honest version of the view from inside the life he's building. Without the commentary, the lonely years are where the real work gets primary. The lonely years, where the making years, every absent hand was the making of the man who appears today in this room with a particular weight. The lonely years were the making years. I wouldn't trade a single one of them for the company I miss. The lonely years were on the making years list of everything required to build the man I am. The lonely years were the making years. That's the program. In the loneliest year, I built the most, not the visible kind, but the kind that holds the most weight when it is tested by the subsequent seasons. The internal infrastructure built without the reasons the company provides for maintaining the performance of a self that is legible to the room in its accordance with what the room expects. I built without the room. I built in the particular quiet of the 4 a.m. gloom that had no audience and no one to perform for. I built exactly what I needed. I built for what was more than the comfortable version that the company required. I built the actual man without the compromise that tied him out in the public years of managing the face. I built in the lonely years at the honest pace that the work required, not the pace the audience demanded. I built at the speed of truth in the years I was left stranded by the circumstance of alone. And the circumstance was a gift in the language of the hard years, the language of the lift that arrives in disguise as the thing you didn't want. The lonely years that built me are the years that still front every room I walk into as the foundation of the man. The lonely years are the making years. That was always the plan. The making is not visible to anyone but the maker. The lonely years produce the quiet earthquake shaker who arrives in the later rooms, having built in the private ones everything he carries, having earned under no suns but his own particular morning that asked for nothing back but gave him everything he needed on the long and lonely track. The lonely years were the building years. The years without the warmth were the years without the veneer of performance and the management and of the daily face. The lonely years were the making years. Gave me my space. I used to mark them down as the years I lost. Used to count the lonely ones against the total cost of a life that you'd have had. More company by now, more of the warmth.
I sat along with all of it, and I came through. No rescue and no witness, and no somebody who knew what the inside of that year looked like when the door was shut. I sat along with all of it, and I came through every cut. I sat along with all of it, and it was mine. Every cold and every darkness and every fault line. I held the whole weight of it in one man's chest. I sat alone with all of it, and I came through. I passed the test. There were nights the walls were closer than they had any right to be. There were mornings where the only reason was the coffee and the meat that still existed on the other side of the previous night. The me that found a reason to put on the coat and fight. Through the door into the daylight that didn't know my name, that asked nothing of the story and continued all the same. Without me at the center, without me in the frame, just the cold indifferent morning, just the unremarkable Cain. And when of an ordinary day in an extraordinary private year, and I walked through every one of them without the one I wanted near. Because the one I wanted near had already taken the road that led away from the building where I was carrying the load. Alone and in the early hours before the day could start, accounting for the damage in the ledger of the heart, and finding that the total was survivable, was real, was not the end of everything, was something I could feel my way through and come out the other side. Still hope, still mine, still the man I said I'd be, still holding the line, sitting alone with the hard thing. It's not the losing of the fight, it is the most honest version of a man inside his night. No performance for the gallery, no management of the face, just the raw accounting in the private honest space. I sat alone with all of it, and I came through. Found everything I needed was already in me too. No cavalry, no rescue, no hand reached through the door. I sat alone with all of it, and I came through, and then through more. The loneliness of hard times is a specific kind of weight, not the loneliness of emptiness, not the loneliness of late,
for connection, but the loneliness of full of everything that's happening, full of every pull between the life before it and the life that comes after, full of the particular silence that replaces all the laughter that used to fill the architecture of the daily hours. And in that silent architecture, in those solitary towers of a life reorganizing around the new and harder truth, I found the most reliable company I'd ever known. The proof that the man inside the chest was the one who always stayed, was the one who never left, was the one who never frayed under any weather, under any test the years devised, was the one who kept the building and was never once surprised by what arrived, because the man inside had always known that the capacity was there if it had to stand alone. Hard times are the season when you find out what is real, when the decoration falls away and you discover what can feel the full weight of the living without assistance from the crowd. The hard times find the man beneath the comfortable and loud version of themselves, and they introduce the two, and the introduction changes everything about the view. I sat alone with all of it, and I came through. I sit with them more easily because I already knew from all the years I sat before them without anything to hold, that the sitting and the surviving were my own story to be told by no one else, and needing no one else to confirm that I came through the fire that I refused to burn down completely in the seasons that were asking me to fall. I sat alone with everything, I sat inside the all of it, and came out standing in a particular way that only the
Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year. Every piece of wisdom cost a price that wasn't clear. When I started paying, only visible at the end. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year and a bend in the road I didn't see till I was already in it. Everything I know, I paid for to the minute. No discounts and no shortcuts and no borrowed understanding. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year, still standing. The first thing that I learned was the cost of the trust. Before the proof was in, before the building had been tested by the weather that reveals the fault lines laid, I trusted on the surface. I paid for it at the gate of the next year, which was harder than the one I just survived. I took the lesson early and I kept it when I arrived at the next version of the same test, dressed in a different face. I recognized it faster, I navigated the space between the surface and the real with more precision
different than before, because the tuition of the previous year had opened up the door to a sharper kind of reading of what I was walking into. And I walked in with my eyes already having been through the thing in a previous chapter, in a previous year's clothing. And the knowing made the crossing less the losing, more the navigating of a man who has the map that came from the previous cross, and that came from the previous gap between what I expected and what the year delivered. I paid for every correction, and I was never bitter. Cheap wisdom is borrowed wisdom, and borrowed wisdom breaks when the moment comes that tests it. When the real thing is at stake, only paid wisdom holds under the full weight of the real, 'cause it was built from the actual, not from the how it should feel. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year. Every lesson that is real inside me cost it clear. Cost it in the blood,
Time and time.
morning of the thing. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year. That's what I bring. The second thing I paid for was the cost of the staying past, the honest reading of the exit pass, the praying for a change that was not coming in the room I'd given years to. I stayed because the familiar is a tax you keep on paying without recognizing it as tax, because it's dressed as loyalty, because the length of time inside a thing becomes its own reality that replaces the assessment of whether it is worth the continued daily payment of your diminishing worth, of your actual capacity, of the hours and the years that are finite and are leaving with the seasons as they clear. I learned that lesson late, and I learned it in the full cost version of the class that teaches late students with the maximum immersion into the consequences of the lesson they ignored, when it was offered cheaper, when the cost was more affordable. Havel and the exit was still close enough to take. I paid the expensive version, I won't make the same mistake. Every year you stay past the honest knowing costs more than the year before it, and the accumulation of the lost years is the most expensive thing a man can spend on a room that had his answer at the door and not the end. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year. Nothing given free was worth what cost came dear. Nothing easy taught me,
Nothing easy taught me.
what the difficult one did. Everything I know, I paid for with a hard year as a kid. Of this particular life that handed me its hardest lessons in the years when I was least the farthest along the road to ready, but most in need of knowing. Everything I know, I paid for, and I'm still paying and still growing. Tonight the knowledge sits in the body the way learning sits, when it came from the experience and not from anything that fits in a book or a conversation or a well-intentioned speech. It sits in the posture and the extension of the reach before I trust the hand, in the particular pause before I open any door, in the particular clause I add to every agreement before I sign the name of the man who learned the hard way and is not going back to the same expensive education in the class he's already passed. Everything he knows he paid for, and the paying made it last. The hard years were the tuition, and the tuition was the making, and the making was the man, and the man is still here taking every lesson that arrives now with the knowledge of the cost, and the knowledge of the value and the knowledge that what's lost and the pain is less than what is gained in the knowing. Everything I paid for, is everything still growing? Everything I know I paid for, with a hard year paid for. Yeah, every piece of wisdom cost a price that wasn't clear. Everything I know I paid for, with a hard year and a dent in the road I didn't see until I was already in it. Everything I know I paid for to the minute. No discounts and no shortcuts and no borrowed understanding. Everything I know I paid for, with a hard year still standing. The first thing that I learned I paid for with a hard year. Nobody came, so I learned to be my own rescue. Nobody came when the floor gave and the walls withdrew. I waited long enough to know the weight was all mine. Nobody came, so I learned to be my own rescue. And I'm fine. Nobody came, and then nobody talked. More than any arrival that I ever saw, it taught me what I carried when nothing else was there. Nobody came, so I learned to be my own rescue. Learn to bear. I called the number once, maybe twice, and then I stopped because the line that I was calling was already dropped by the people who had promised in the easier years to be present in the harder ones, to stay beside the fears that every man carries to the private dark hours that arrive without announcement, without reasonable hours of operation, and without the courtesy of time. And I called the number in the dark and heard the dial toning into the silence of the line that nobody was answering. And I sat with the receiver and I did my own accounting of what was available to me in the room where I was sitting, which was just the man inside the chest. And whatever he was fitting together from the available materials of the moment, which were not much but were mine and were components of a rescue that was slower than the ones you read about, but that worked because it had to and because there was no out. That didn't require me to be the one providing everything that needed to be done, and the deciding and the doing and the holding and the getting through the night. Nobody came, and so I came, and I came into the light. The absence of the rescue is the making of the rescuer. The nobody who doesn't come is the teacher of the one who stirs into the gap and fills it with the self that was always there, waiting to be called upon by the old man's own despair. So I became the one who does, not the hero of the story, just the man who simply was present in the room where nobody else arrived. Nobody came, so I became my own rescue. And I survived.
success of that season was not the soft and poetic kind. That sounds better in the telling than it was in the living inside. It was the practical loneliness of a man who needs a hand for the physical and daily things that just one man's hand cannot manage simultaneously, and has to manage anyway, because the hand is his and it is the only hand in play. And I manage them not because I was built for it, but because the managing was the only option that fit into the space where someone else's presence used to live. And I had to fill the space with everything I could give of my own resources, of my own capability, of my own getting through the Tuesday with the necessary agility of a man who has no backup and has to be the backup for himself in every area that requires a fill and a step up beyond what single-handed management should ask, but asks anyway, because the day has its own task, regardless of the resources of the man it's asking it of. And the man meets every asking with whatever is enough. Enough is not ideal. Enough is just the clearing of the bar that the day set for the man who is still hearing. Not because the bar was low, but because he cleared it in the particular season where the clearing most required it. Nobody came, so I became the one who knew how to find the floor beneath the floor and start from new. How to build the quiet practice in the absence of the help. Nobody came, so I became my own rescue from the shelf. I kept myself a poem, and every year storing everything I needed for the season that was pouring down on the man alone who had nobody coming. Nobody came, so I learned to keep on running. Now I look at every room I walk inside and see the man who came for himself when nobody came for me. Not with pride and not with damage, not with the wound on display, just with the particular knowledge of a self-rescued man's way of being in the world, which is quietly assured, which is rooted in the knowing that the ground is secured by his own two hands, his own 2 feet, his own particular morning practice of a man entirely grown into the capability he didn't know he had until the season that required it in the year that was the hardest that he had up to that point. Survived and is surviving in every subsequent harder year with the benefit of having already been his own rescue on the year nobody came, and arrived on the other side answering to his own name.